Welcome everyone to another world building. Sorry, I have to creative writing workshop where we're talking about world building for writers. I'm so excited about what we're talking about that I'm just jumping right into the title. So the creative writing workshop was developed by educators in VR and myself in 2018, and this is part of our world building for writers session. We're going to be talking about narrative integration, and again, this event, creative writing workshop, was started in 2018, and I can't believe we're still going. And we meet every Tuesday. Now, I'm going to give you a little hint. We may be changing the time for the first time since 2018. We may be pushing it later in the week. We're going to see. We're going to be doing the tests and see if that works. So be ready for that. Our mission has always been to create a supportive and creative educational environment and experience for writers. And we're doing this in virtual reality because it's more fun. And I love having you here. So let's get going. This year, I've been experimenting and doing month-long series. Really, we've had so much fun with it. On February, we looked at the writing path, which was taking an idea to publish. Then we had a reading event and a spring break in March. And here in April, we've been working on world building for writers. Next month in May, I'm so excited. It's going to be characters in motion. How do we build believable people? Really believable people, and everything we've been doing builds upon this. And so we've been talking about world building for writers. Hey, Tang Whistle. And we've been talking about world building for writers, writing around, the environment that's around them. And then we're going to be talking about these characters and how do we make our characters come alive on the page. So get ready for that. We've got a whole year planned of really awesome stuff. So the first week of this world building for writers session has a month-long series has been on, first of all, we started with sensory foundations. Today, we're going to sum all this up. Sensory foundations, what are the details that we notice? And oh boy, did we have some eye-opening moments, didn't we? That was so much fun. It was amazing. And then the cultural layers. When you're in your story, there's culture. There's all kinds of culture. There's history. There's all kinds of details, from the walk, don't walk signs to how they handle silverware and what foods they eat, and religion. And there's so many layers. Which ones are important to your story? How do you choose them? What's important to that? Even colors. We talked 2 weeks ago, about how colors can actually lead to the next one, societal conflicts. What creates conflict in the society that your character is living, working, breathing, and fighting in? What's going on? And what can be triggers for those? Colors was part of it. Flags, personalities, religion, politics. There were so many layers. Really fascinating to go through some of those things and look at those details. And today we're going to take all of that, blend that together, and integrate this world building experience right into our narrative. Are you ready? So it's our final session in this series for world building for writers. We realized that that there's all these pieces, these ingredients that go into a story. And a lot of times when new people start writing, they go, I have a story, I need to write a story. And they start writing, and it's like, see Jane run, see Jane walk down the street, see Jane meet somebody and have a story. And they're missing a lot of the things that actually makes a story dynamic. What was the weather like? What were the politics like? What were influence, and what was part of the world that this character lived in that created the conflict and the decisions they had to make within it? What were the obstacles? There's so many exciting things that go into this. And in writing, it's very, very important to understand that it's not about info dumping. We need to reveal the world and our characters' experiences within it through a lived experience, through our stories. And we get to pick and choose what those things are. I found this great template here that I wish I had found earlier, that really breaks down the idea of world building for writers, where it's the core components. You have to have some form of a setting and lore. That's that culture, that history, all of the societal issues and things that are in there. They need to be there. We need those foundations. Then we have to identify what are those conflicts and what are the stakes. You can't have a conflict without stakes. You need to know what the challenges are and what the goals of your character are and what are they risking. What's at stake here? And then you fill in all of that with the characters and the different factions and groups and things that are coming into, us versus them, etc. And then you look at what are those key points and the consequences. What happens? Something happens and there's consequences to everything, and then look at those dynamic outcomes. It's a really great template for building that world around your characters. Hey, Jay. So I really love this. I'm going to share this later on our Discord. Remind me if I don't. But it's a really powerful look at what goes in and around our characters as we're building that world around it. Any questions or comments on this?
Will you be having this slide on in the Discord?
Yep. That's what I just said. Yep. Any questions, comments? Does this make sense?
The term choice point, is that the term choice point in this context? Is it the same thing as a pinch point?
Not exactly. So what this is there a pinch point. Tanguisl, you want to explain pinch point?
I will remind the audience I am a pantser, not a planner.
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Penguin could answer that one easy.
Okay,
that one's a little jargony for me.
Okay, then.
A pinch, Jay, do you want to try it? That's a pinch point.
Sorry, I'm late, by the way. I didn't expect the
That's fine.
thing to take so long to load. But anyway, pinch plate
Point.
I just got here, but for pinch point, okay. What it looks like here is my guess is just a from the sound of it, a summary of a summary, maybe some kind of meta summary that sort of compiles larger points into more succinct, not so much details, but sort of a less detailed kind of thing. Is that not good as all?
So
is it applying pressure to a character?
Yes, it's applying pressure. Okay, so pinch point, yes, it's applying pressure. So it is reminding the reader of the stakes. It is attentioning things. But what a choice point is where the reader has to make a decision. That may or may not be a pitch point. A pitch point is when the pressure and the tension to decide, or the pressure and the tension of the consequences of the decision. Those are pinch points. But
you said the reader has to make a decision.
Sorry, I'm sorry. The reader, the character. I'm sorry. That was.
If you're reading Choose Your Own Adventure.
Yes, that's it. I'm sorry. This is. I must have glanced at something that had the word player in it. I'm sorry. But it's where the character. Yeah.
Okay.
And so the character has to make decisions all the time. They have to decide to get up and walk out the door. They have to decide, but there's critical ones, and those can lead to pressure points. So a pressure point can force a choice. The consequences can force a choice, and those all can be pitch points, but they're not necessarily all tied together. It's the pressure. You're exactly right on that. And sorry for the slip up. Any other comments or thoughts? As Jay makes his way back in, he must have lost internet. Okay. I want to make two really important points as we build this narrative integration that you need to remember with world building. First of all, world building is not background decoration. And a lot of new readers, that's what they do. It was a lovely day on the beach with the wind blowing and the sand got in my eye and the waves were rippling and da 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 da. It's not about the background decoration. It is about the force shaping character decisions, the conflict and the plot. They have to be connected. If they're on a beach, that character better have a direct tie. The conflict and the plot must have a direct tie to that beach. There must be some meaning, some significance. They decided after high school to get to go be, hang out on it, be a beach bum for years. That's a direct tie-in, but there needs to be something. Or they ended up on the beach and they don't know how. We need to figure out how. Karis?
So if the scene can take place anywhere and it doesn't really matter, then there's a problem with the scene because we don't
Kind of. Yeah.
right.
We don't. If the story is powerful enough to overcome the scene, then it doesn't matter. So that if the scene can happen in a cafe or in somebody's living or whatnot, it really doesn't matter. But it really helps to support it when it does matter, because that tells us about the character. We find those little bits of connection about our character.
So I said scene when I should have said story. If
Okay.
the story can take place anywhere, then we've got a problem because we haven't created the world.
Yes, much better said. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And they have to tie all together in there. Now, here's the real punch to this. World building adds focus to stories. It supports the plot. It doesn't overwhelm it. We've all run across those stories where it's like, oh, come on, get on with the story, get on this. I'm so tired of you describing how pretty the sunset is, how lovely the stars are. Get with a story, right? Want to make sure that there's balance in there, but that world, just as you said, it needs to support the plot. It needs to support the characters and tie in. All right. As we go through this session, and I want to go through this quickly because I want to get to the fun part, the different worlds, we're going to only focus on the things that we've been talking about. So as we go through these worlds, we're going to look for what are the sensory anchors. These are the anchor points that hold us, the reader, in that place. They make the place come alive. Okay, sensory anchors. What is social system? We need to know what those are. Where's the conflict? So as we go through and we start working on these stories that we're going to be making up, I'm going to be asking about these 4 points. And then what are the choices the character has to make in this process? So again, and I will show you again just before we leave to the world, our first world you're going to observe and look for those concrete sensory details. What helps support what that story is? Whatever we make up, what's going to do it? And then I want you to name at least 3 invisible systems behind the scene. Who's in power? Who has the power? What is the belief system? Is there trade? Is there taboo? What are the laws? Class system, factions? What's the history? Because that all helps paint the picture, right? Then I want you to give the character a very specific urgent goal. Now, very specific, just one urgent goal that makes the world harder for them to spend, and they have to solve that. They have to do this or else. This is where, they got to save the world or else. And then I want you to identify 3 world building layers that are in the environment that actively affect the outcome. Okay, the world building layers can be challenges and obstacles and whatever. What's going to get in their way? Okay, that's the assignment. We're going to come back to that, but this is the assignment. So let me walk you through this. This is the template that is the absolute core of describing a story. This is the core. This is how it all works. Okay. And this is what, if any of you have been on our Discord, you've seen Penn has been struggling to write her blurb. This is kind of the layout of how the blurb kind of works. Okay. It can be reworded in 1,000 ways, but this is the core template. In this place, wherever it is, your character wants X. They have to want something. And be clear, there's a difference between want and need. They have to want something, but the environment, the social rules, the competing belief systems, society, all that stuff makes achieving that goal costly. Okay, that's the template. In this place, a character wants something, but the world around them is going to make it hard for them to get it. That's a basic premise. You want to write any kind of story, start with that core and see where it takes you. Really simple it down. Any questions about this before I show you an example? Okay. Here's an example. A storm-flooded Asian city prepares for the Lantern Festival. Life must go on, right? But Courier May has uncovered proof of a corrupt guildmaster. She must choose between silence, family shame, and an ancestor's oath. Break the rules to save the city. Gotta break those rules. Okay, so we have a city. We have the basic environment. And what's the goal? What's May's goal? What does she want? Anyone? What does she want? What does May want?
Well, it depends on what she chooses.
What does it say right in there? She says she's uncovered proof of a corrupt guildmaster. She must choose between. So what does she want?
Sorry, I had my mic up. She wants to save the city.
She wants to save the city by doing what?
Well,
Revealing the corrupt guildmaster?
Yes, by revealing corruption. Yep. Karis?
well, I was just going to say, given this paragraph, it looks like a lot of the story is figuring out what is going to be her figuring out what she wants. We can't just assign that based on this paragraph. There's an opportunity for something, but she has to decide if she's going to do it or take a safer route. And that's the story is her decision.
The story is, well, no, her first decision, what she wants is to uncover corruption. She wants to reveal the corruption. From there on, she has to choose between these are the obstacles that get her in her way, the environment that gets in her way that makes her doing this have a great cost. So she has to deal with, number one, the corruption that she's trying to reveal. There is silence. We have to learn about that in the story. I'll show you that in a second. There's the family shame, the ancestor's oath. There's the rules of the city. And she has to overcome maybe one or all of these things. She isn't choosing which one she overcomes. She may have to deal with everyone that's going to step in her way.
Okay, what does it?
Uh-huh.
What does it mean for her to be a courier here? Because I mean, if it's one thing if she's an investigative reporter or a detective, because then it would be obvious that she wants to uncover. But here, as a courier, it's like she's come across this information.
And she has to deliver it.
For me,
she has to deliver it. It's
Okay.
it just means she's trying to deliver it. Yeah. If she was a detective or if she was a police person or whatever, then things would be a little different. You could fill in any name in there, but it still boils down to she wants to reveal corruption. And then the challenges she's facing in the environment around her is the corruption, the silence, the family shame, ancestors' oath, city rules. And there's much to lose because she may have to face every single one of these and make a decision. So let's break this down. Basic rubric, okay? We have the sensory anchor, the social system, the conflict, and then the character agency, and then the plot movement. I added those just to help understand the bigger picture. So we need to pick one vivid sensory detail that pulls the reader into the scene. That's what you're going to be doing as we move through these worlds. The example that I ran some of this through an AI as well because I really wanted to get some interesting examples in there. But anyway, the AI came up with incense. I can't even say it. Incense chokes her throat, each breath of prayer. I love that, so I kept that. Now that's better than the city was beautiful. And that's what we get with a lot of beginning readers. The city was beautiful. I don't know what that means. When I'm editing things and I run across something like, she was beautiful standing there. I go, yeah, I don't know what she looked like. What does that mean? How did she stand? How was she beautiful? What defines beauty? We need to, that's such a weak phrase. Where incense chokes her throat. That says something. We can visualize that. Those are painterly words, art words. The social system, again, if no more about the story, but there's one rule that it's a taboo or hierarchy that shapes the character's choices. In this example, the guild law demands silence during the festival. Breaking it risks the family shrine and family shame. Those kind of go hand in hand with that. You lose the shrine, you get family shame. The generic part would be like people really angry. I don't know. Conflict. When those goals collide, we have the truth versus the ancestor's oath. By revealing, she has some jade that is the evidence that she's carrying. We find out in the story. And by revealing it, it's actually an oath that everyone in the family takes to never reveal this, and she's going to do that. And then we also have the militia funds and port dredging and all kinds of other things that are coming in, which you don't know, not part of the story, but there's other things that are happening. But so what gets in the way? And then the character agency is how does the protagonist acts? And May hurls the jade and the lanterns flare and the guide master's wrath lurches. There's all kinds of fun things you can do with that. And what we often though get with beginning writers is that the character observes the things around rather than engages in the activity. So the character becomes a narrator instead of actually involved in that process. And I find that quite often when I'm editing. And then moving the plot forward when the scene changes and things, alliance is broken, etc. And they have to have a vote to allow her to step forward, and then she gets to reveal. So, and then the worst thing you do is the scene ends is the same as it began, because it has to move forward. It has to escalate the story. So does that help a little bit to understand a little bit of the background in there? And what we're going to be doing, again, this is just a loose example, is we're going to be going through in just a moment, and we're going to be, and get ready, Lance. I want you all to, again, we're going to make up the story, but I want you to look around at the environment, find some concrete sensory details that help tell whatever story comes to your mind, and identify the 3 invisible systems that might be behind the scene. Give that character an urgent goal. What are they going to say? What are they going to do? And then let's look at the 3 world building layers that may impact that outcome. In other words, they get in the way and have to be overcome. Is everybody on track? Does that help? Got the homework? All right, Lance, wave your wand, please. Let's go. All right.
I was expecting a village.
Well, where are we?
Not in China.
I feel like I saw the name as we were loading it, and that's cheating, so I don't want to say.
Everybody saw it. Do you know, where are we?
Wow.
Paris?
This is where the 3 villains of Krypton attacked those astronauts.
Okay. What else? Where are we?
Giant steps are what we take walking
Yeah.
on the moon.
So this is the Apollo landing site. And I can't remember. I think there's a footstep in here, but I can't remember.
Tranquility Base.
Yeah, Tranquility Base. So this is the Apollo moon landing, Tranquility Base. Now, I want you to just wander for a moment and take this all in. And usually, oh, I don't see the Earth. We usually have the Earth. Lance, what happened to the Earth? The Earth is usually a little dot in the distance. Um, and
Uh.
pull out some sensory details, name 3 invisible systems that are behind the scene, give our character, it's going to be here, a specific and urgent goal, and identify 3 world building layers that actively affect the outcome of the story.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so wonder and look, and you can talk while you do. I just want you to wonder and, go down into a little cavern, little crater, and take a look and focus on the sensory details to begin with.
I just noticed what shadows look like. Not exactly realistic, but
Well,
interesting.
they're thinner. They're thinner.
Heck of a way to lose weight.
True. And if you turn the right way, they do look like aliens, but that's just, we discovered that a while ago. It's very funny. All right, but think of some sensory details. What do you see here?
It has an edge.
You found the edge. Okay. We're going to pretend that the moon is not flat. Okay.
Sorry, that's the effect of seeing Saturn 3 at a young age.
Yes, there you go.
Or no, sorry, not Saturn 3, Capricorn 1.
Capricorn 1, yes.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay, so shadow is actually important. That's an important detail. We're going to ignore the edge business. What else are important details in here?
Yeah, the whole story is about the moon actually being flat. Uh-huh.
Yeah, we're not going to go there. We have other conspiracies to do. Tanglitzel, what about you? What are the details, sensory details here?
I'm thinking a lot about the sounds I would hear
Mm.
because, we'd be in suits. All of our sounds would be self-contained to our suits, with the exception of a radio. With the exception of a radio.
Mm-hmm.
I was getting there.
Yeah. No, it's
like
good.
The sound of breathing. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like being inside a CPAP machine.
But like if you had a very barren kind of rocky landscape like this on Earth, you'd have the sound of footsteps crunching with every step. Whereas with the vacuum of space and the spacesuits, you might get a little bit of crunch transmitted through your suit itself, but mostly you're not going to hear that crunch, crunch, crunch.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Could
you're
be.
mostly just going to hear your suit responding to it.
Okay.
The wrinkles and the crumples of the fabric and stuff.
Yeah, and your own heartbeat, your own breath, that sort of thing. Your air
Mhm.
filter, oxygen tank, little mechanical beeps and boops and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, what else?
Sorry, I got really hung up on imagining the sounds because it's so quiet.
Okay, here's
Oh,
Earth.
wow.
Hello,
Oops, hang on.
Earth.
And
Meeting you here.
Yeah.
There we go.
Neil deGrasse Tyson would have a field day with this.
yes, he would.
Makes me want to get Universe Sandbox
Okay.
again.
Right. Well,
Okay.
my understanding is that once we get outside of Earth's atmosphere, that the sun is much, much brighter.
Mhm.
Hence the need for us to have shades on our face masks.
Okay. All right. So we have the sounds of the radio. Steph has one of the shades over her because it's randomized who gets the shade out and who doesn't
Oh.
here in Engage, but hers is blackened out for whatever reason. Is my blackened out?
No, yours is open
Nope. Okay. All right.
or
So
clear.
hers
It's
is
not open.
clear. It's clear. Yep. So she is the black screen down there. And then um what so we have the sounds through the ears. And what else? And then we can't
The
hear the crackling
silence.
and then the breathing.
Well, yeah, I think you'd be self-conscious of the sounds that were all so self-contained as compared to the silence
Mm-hmm.
of everything outside your suit.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. So sound plays an important role. The seeing through a polarized version, but also moving around and not seeing people's faces when the sun is fully, was up there. So that could be a thing. What else?
Right.
What else?
We can't do it in Engage, but the lower gravity is a huge sensation that you could include.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The
Well,
jump, the way you walk and changing.
we'd only be allowed to be out here in our suits for a limited amount of time, so the clock would be ticking.
Why?
And sometimes it's good to have a ticking clock. in your
Oxygen
story.
tank?
Yes, it
You
is.
can only hold
Yes.
so much oxygen.
Oxygen and
Temperature?
And we're fragile to a point because if there are rocks and jagged things here, and we don't want to
Mhm.
tear our suits, and we don't want to
Mhm.
trip and fall, and yeah.
Yeah.
There's
Radiation. Radiation is a big
Yeah.
concern. The suits can only block so much, especially in those days. They weren't blocking much. There was literally tinfoil in there. So it was
Yeah.
not all the new things they have. Okay. Now, 3 invisible systems behind the scene. So we've got the belief, the power, the trade taboo, laws, class, factions, history. What would be some of the 3 invisible systems behind the scene?
Our NASA training,
Yep.
Okay, the NASA training. What else?
the expectation of professionality with our NASA training, the pressure that we would be under to also do things that are entertaining to the public back home to help make them more interested in what we're doing up here.
Okay. At the
Which
time,
is why
everyone was watching. This isn't like today. Back then, everyone was watching. But why?
right, but you still had astronauts hitting golf balls and stuff.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Because they were playful. Okay, but why did the United States get to the moon when it did?
Oh, yes, the space race.
Okay, explain the space race for those who don't know.
Well, everyone believed that the first people to set foot on the moon might be able to lay claim for the entire thing, which was kind of the reason why we wanted to beat everyone else there. But it doesn't really hold up over time in terms of
I know.
being a motivator. But we're doing it again. Apparently.
Right, but at
Well,
the time, what was the pressure? Because that's part of the system is those pressure points. What was the pressure to do it now back then?
well, if we can plant our flag of technical superiority to be able to land a man on the moon, then it could be assumed that we were also technically superior in the ability to send missiles to our enemies.
That was a part of it, but who was our enemy at the time?
Yeah. Russia.
Russia. Cold
Russia.
War.
Or rather, the
Mhm.
Soviet Union back then.
Yeah, it was the Soviet Union, and the fear was that they were going to beat us, and so it had to again show that technological advancement. Now there were other parts of this that one more. I need one more invisible system. So we had the pressure of the race to beat the Russians, and we had there was all the training, their professionalism, and yes, there was the entertainment, but those aren't really systems. Those are more things that they did. What's
Okay,
another system?
How about Kennedy's promise that we would land a man on the moon in this decade, and then after his assassination, maybe feeling like an obligation to honor, I don't know, the pressure of making that come through with the emotional attachment of having lost the person who envisioned it for us.
Right. Excellent. And remember, he was speaking other people's words. Yeah.
And not only
Steph?
him, we also lost 3 astronauts prior to this. So,
Right.
Mhm.
you kind of owed the success to them because they gave their lives for it.
Which is another one of the sessions which changed over time. One of the systems behind is that there was an expectation that we would lose people in this process because we were experimenting, we were pushing, there was competition, and it had to go forward. Even though we lost the astronauts, it had to go forward. Where after the Columbia incident, everything shut down for years. And because we had to do it only to protect life. So there was a shift right there in it. There's also another underlying system that continues to be a part of it today. There's actually there's conspiracy theory and then there's reality pressure. Karis?
The economic pressure of why are we sending people to the moon when we got problems on
Yes.
Earth that we need to take care of?
Exactly. And what we know is that when we go out into space, we actually get greater benefits on Earth. But that doesn't, in the moment, that's never thought about when it comes to budget or anything as the rewards. They just think of how much is this going to cost instead of how much is this going to benefit. So yeah, that's definitely it. Okay. Now, in our story here, we need to give the character an urgent goal. So what would be, come on, this is the time to make up the story. And then we're going to look at 3 world building layers that help support that to affect the outcome. So what's our story? And what is the character's goal? Remember, if in this place, the character needs X, and then we're going to look at what gets in the right. What do they need in this environment?
Life support.
Okay, so life support because
We're vulnerable. So I would imagine that a story would, almost any story would exploit the fact that we're vulnerable.
okay.
And
So how many? Yeah, and well,
we're-
that ties. Go ahead, Karis.
Yeah. Well, it's just, these are obvious because there's so many stories that do this, including The Martian, where, obviously we're slaves to the technology here, and we're vulnerable to the technology failing us.
Okay. All right. So we can pick that, but let's make that by identifying what is getting in the way, what world building layers are getting in the way of getting, making sure that we can continue to breathe and support ourselves on here in this action. What are the things that are going to affect the outcome in this world? Steph?
Supplies, battery life, since we haven't really identified what the mission itself is supposed to be other than just getting here. If it's just us standing here, then we don't have much of a story.
Mm-hmm.
So we are either looking for something or we want to prove something by being here.
Yeah, you have this odd echo that's coming through that sounds like you're on an astronaut radio system. You're giving it really appropriate sound effects. Yeah. Okay, so she's right. Yeah, well, we're hearing a weird echo plus mechanical voice, and so, or at least I'm hearing it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have the and I'm still hearing an echo, so it might be on Discord. So something is I have Discord. My team's on Discord behind me. Hi, Paul. Welcome for joining us. This is an educator's. Oh no, it wasn't me. It was you. Yeah, you're echoing. So my team is going to mute you. You can unmute if you have a question, but we are hearing an echo through you. And so make sure you get headphones on, earbuds, something. So this is a creative writing session, and we're talking about world building and how do you integrate different aspects of the world, the details, the sensory details, and etc. into the story. Steph, you were going to say?
Well, I was going to add that once we've figured out what the goal was to be here, then you're either remembering something through the astronaut in the past, or you're thinking in terms of what he's planning to do, or he's dealing with something right in the moment. So
Okay, all right. So we're adding complexity to it. So we have a life support system. Karis, give us something more than just life support is the thing that they need. Because it's not enough.
Well, I mean, yeah, we wouldn't just, Steph is absolutely right in that we wouldn't just be up here. There would be extensive planning that got on to, and we would have specific objectives mapped out for us to do. So what if all those objectives were about us landing at a specific place on the moon and we're not in that place? Is that what we're looking for? Is like trying to come up with story ideas? I guess I'm not really sure what we're.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's it. So that gives us something. We need something that is a risk. We have to save the world, do some things. We've landed in the wrong place, but is that enough of a pressure point? What if we've not only landed in the wrong place, but we've lost connection with Houston control, and something is damaged on there? Let's increase the risk. So our life support is an issue, but we can't rely on the capsule because it's been damaged in some way. We have our suit and whatever's on the capsule, then we can't connect. We're in the wrong place and we can't connect back. There needs to be some escalation in there to make this a big, what do they want? So it has a little more importance. Okay.
What if Tang Whistle is a Soviet plant and she's here to sabotage?
There you go.
Yeah.
Spy versus spy.
Yay. Okay. So, all right. We have a spy who has sabotaged all of this. All right. Okay. Now we have, so what gets in the way in this world? We're going to do this quick. So we want to get to the next world. What about this environment is getting in the way and making this more difficult for the character? So we have a spy in our midst who sabotaged things, life support risk, landed in the wrong place, can't contact Houston and NASA. Okay, what is getting in our way?
the fact that we can't change the situation we're in, we have to adapt to it.
Absolutely, be more specific. How do we adapt?
Analyze the ship,
Okay.
batteries, siphon off the oxygen into our tanks and start hoofing it.
Okay, hoofing it where? This is the first time humans have landed on the moon. There is nothing else here but moon. Okay, so what would be the biggest priority? The first priority?
Reestablish communication.
Yeah. So figuring out some way of cannibalizing the ship or fixing whatever is fixable in there. Okay. And then the second one would be?
Figuring out how to get home.
No, I think there's something else in the middle of that.
Staying alive in the meantime.
Yes, staying alive, then figuring out how to get home. Okay. And so that gives us three things that, that again, each one of those have sub things that's on there that, how do we figure this out? Okay. Is this making sense? A little bit? Karis is a little more clear?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't want to just steal plot points from The Martian, so I wasn't quite sure what I wasn't quite sure what we were doing here.
Yeah, it's wide open. Things.
My apologies. Yeah, my apologies if I got a little lost.
Poor Andy Ware. Yeah, poor Andy Ware. All right, let's go to the next place. I wanted this one because there's also conspiracy theories that are attached to this. And that's part of the complexity of the story is if you want to do the conspiracy, now we have a spy among us, that adds to the conspiracies and things. And I just recently rewatched part of, I haven't finished Interstellar, and in the opening scenes, I don't know if anybody remembers, but the former astronaut and space engineer, his kid is being suspended at school, and he goes to talk to the principal, and the reason is because she brought in a textbook, an old textbook that describes the landing on the moon, and the principal says, yes, but that is not true, and so we update our textbooks, and they don't reference that because we know that the landing on the moon was not true. And right there, it's just that little tiny bit of message just changed the whole the whole. Okay. Oh, oh, oh. We gotta get the echo fixed, Steph.
Is that me?
All right. Yes, it's you. You turn green when it is. Okay. Waiting for everybody else. Is everybody else coming? Because this. All right, there. Okay. All right. Where are we? Anyone know where we are?
Well, we've been here before, just at daytime.
Mm-hmm. Yep. This is the nighttime version of the Statue of Liberty. We thought we'd see a different view of this. Okay. Again, we want to look for some concrete details because now it's night. And there are sounds in the background. And we can walk over here. We need some sensory details. It don't have to be three, but we need some sensory details here. All right, now we can see the Statue of Liberty. So what are some sensory details here? Come on down. I forgot what a long walk it is.
Steph had the right idea. Point and click.
Yeah, for those on computer, it's a right click teleports you. Green circle. All right, sensory details. Okay, you're gonna keep going. I was staying over in the middle. That's fine.
Wind through the leaves of the trees.
Okay, wind through the leaves of the trees. What else?
Water and boat traffic.
Okay. How heavy would that boat traffic be at night?
Not much.
Not
Okay.
heavy, but it would still be very present.
Okay, what else?
The sound of people on the moon trying to get our attention because they're stuck up there.
Okay. There's some other things. There's some other sensory things that are visible. Not necessary. You're all doing hearing. We've got the flapping of the flag. Okay.
Yeah, the flag.
What else?
Yeah.
What else is sensory detail here?
It would be cooler because it's night.
Okay. Temperature's cooler. We have the moon overhead. We have the shimmering of the lights of the city in the distance. There might be a bit of, because sound carries over water, we might hear traffic noises, occasional beeping of a horn or a taxi or something like that, or a siren in the distance. Okay. Now, what are three invisible systems? Again, power, belief, trade, taboo, Law, class, factions, history. What is 3 invisible systems behind this scene? Okay, one is really obvious. We're on Ellis Island. Lance? Tang whistle? Ryan? Somebody?
What was the question?
3 invisible systems behind this scene.
Oh, 3 invisible systems behind the scene.
Actually, we're not really on Ellis Island. We're on Liberty Island.
We're on Liberty Island. Sorry, correction. Thank you.
Does climate count as an invisible system?
It could. What does that have to do with the Statue of Liberty?
Well, acid rain has been slowly altering the statue's color for decades.
Okay, that's true. That's true. That
True.
works. Steph?
Well, we have what she stands for, and the fact that it's kind of under siege at the moment.
Okay, so what about what she stands for? Be specific.
Send me your huddled masses yearning to be free. In other words, the downtrodden should be able to come here and seek refuge and opportunity. And
Okay.
that's not exactly so easily anymore.
Yeah, we're not talking about anymore. We're talking about historical. So it's about immigration and migration, right? But mostly immigration. And that means that there's politics behind those decisions. That's part of that system. What else is the invisible system here? Brian, do you have an idea? How about she's a symbol of what?
Hope,
Hope and
freedom.
freedom. Hope and freedom. Okay, so those are invisible systems because they reflect in the political system, the immigration system, and the dreams of immigrants. So those are things that, what did they used to say about the immigrants coming to the new world? What did they used to tell people to describe why they should come?
Be free.
Pardon?
To be free.
And what else? What was one of the big myths?
Well, they also thought that the streets were paved with gold, which
Yes. Which is a metaphor, but people took it seriously. So they went, because not always that smart. Okay. All right. Now, your characters here in this environment, let's give them an urgent goal to save the world, save themselves, save people, save a group. What would that be? Come on, come on.
You're thinking of an X-Men movie, and it's kind of clouding my judgment.
Okay. Tang, give us a good story.
Give us a good story. I don't know. Contemporary fiction is not my area.
Well, how about if suddenly the Statue of Liberty herself starts to move as if alive?
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters.
No, is it Ghostbusters?
Okay, there's another
Yeah.
one. I didn't think of that one.
Okay, okay. How about this
And a
twist
Doctor
for
Who.
you? How about this twist for
Mhm.
you? The people of New York have so worshipped the idea of liberty for so long, it has manifested as an actual deity and can possess the statue to fight a giant kaiju.
Okay.
Kaiju versus
And
Lady
I
Liberty.
remembered it.
And here I was thinking somebody is that a group is trying to blow up the Statue of Liberty, and the character has to stop
Oh,
them.
You
I
were
don't
going
have, see.
domestic terrorism.
I don't.
Sorry.
I don't. Yes, but I don't have your imagination. I think that's so. There you go. Proof and evidence. Okay. Now, what are 3 world building layers that will affect the outcome of the deity that is now going to battle? That is now the Statue of Liberty. What's getting in their way?
Rust?
Acid rain damage. We talked about it earlier.
Okay,
That could
acid
actually
rain is
damage the structural
weakened
integrity
it.
of the statue.
Okay, and the ability to fight against.
They got to renovate the
Okay.
statue so that the goddess of liberty could actually have a physical form to manifest to fight the kaiju. Otherwise, New
Okay.
York is doomed.
The
That
only
works
thing,
for me. Oh my goodness, I
the
love
only
it.
thing that will give her power is if we can get David Lee Roth to come here and perform a concert and sing Yankee Rose, which was
There
about
you
the Statue of
go.
Liberty. And
Yes.
unfortunately,
Funny.
he has laryngitis.
So
Okay,
our
we've gone
hero
off
of
the
the
rails of the
story
silly.
is an imitator who has to convince everyone that he's the real deal and perform in his place.
Okay, that works. Okay. Now, all right. So, does any of this is this helping any when you think about how when we talk about something like that, what is it in the world that is it isn't the shimmering lights of the city, it isn't the the moon overhead, maybe the moon adds to the power. It isn't even the immigration story that would enhance that particular story. So, or maybe it is because maybe it's all those hopes and dreams of all the people who arrived in the new world that actually helped manifest and birth that energy to create the magic that turned her into a deity. I don't know, but that's what we're talking about in integrating all of this world building into the narrative. What are the key elements? So if that was true, what else would be support that story from this environment?
Well, in Ghostbusters 2, they needed all the goodwill of the citizens of the city.
Okay, good example. Good example. In Doctor Who, it was going back in time to stop it from happening in the first place, so to speak, that did the fix the problem. So we have acid rain and we have salt water. This is salt water here. So that could maybe impact this. I don't know what has to be overcome. All right. But anyway, I just noticed the time. I was having too much fun. So forget about this story. Was this helpful to help really this past month of looking at the environment around our character, the world, the politics, all the different beliefs and the culture and things, and then cherry picking which ones that we need to bring into our stories to make our characters feel real and challenged by the world around them so they can overcome it, but also helps. Has it helped any? I see nodding. Fang is nodding.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's a way of putting your character into a position of the who, what, where, and when type of question, but in a way that's sensorial and like what we're trying to do with the Lady Liberty there.
Mm-hmm.
Figure out what would prevent her from whatever the story wants to propel her toward. There's that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and as much as we were kind of challenged to like just be planted in a location and try to figure out a story, it's a good reminder that when it comes right down to it, the sky's the limit.
Yes. It's your imagination is the only thing that can hold you back.
Well, that's
And
also
it's
the position that we
yeah.
put our readers in when we write.
Mm-hmm.
When they first come into a scene that we've written, it's like when we landed on the moon. You know, what is it? Where are we? Like that.
Mm-hmm. Tang?
Um,
Were you going to add something?
Understanding the impact of those invisible systems, you don't want all of that information up front in your book, but it's important that you have it in your background notes for your personal reference, because it does make your story naturally more consistent, which reduces the effort you need in your developmental editing phase.
Oh.
Absolutely. Really good
Well,
point.
and
Mhm,
to
Karis?
piggyback on that, if you write a story about something happening here at this location and you don't know it very well and you're not familiar with it very well, the locals are going to be watching, they're going to be paying attention to your story and they'll know the flaws.
Mhm.
They'll know that no, that's not possible from that location. No, that's not going to work because that's not, if you live in New York and you're watching Law and Order and they take a corner and they're 5 blocks away, there's going to be
Yeah.
people that know that neighborhood and they're like, no, that's not how that works.
Mm-hmm. Which is what I explained with the Fabulous Baker Boys, how we were so excited. It was filmed in Seattle. We all gathered at parties and stuff. And then we watched it, and he entered a stairway like on Capitol Hill and up in Pioneer Square. It can't happen. There's no
Right.
physical way that can happen. It's like a whole, mile distance of didn't make any sense, and that yanks people out.
That's what I was thinking about. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. In the movie, with Jane Seymour and Superman.
Time after time.
Time After Time.
Time
Thank you. Somewhere
Believe,
in time. Somewhere in time.
Somewhere in time. Right.
There is a scene in that movie where, and it's really important, where there's the character pulls out a quarter from the present. He's in the past and he pulls out a quarter from the present, and he's yanked out of the past where he wants to live because he's fallen in love. And he's yanked out into the future and he cannot get back just by seeing like a bicentennial quarter or whatever it was. And the same thing holds true if you've seen The Cotton Club. Great, award-winning movie, fantastic. In the scene, in the scene, there's a big montage of them throwing money on a table, and it's all these scans of bills and coins and all these things. And I saw a bicentennial quarter come through. This is the Cotton Club. This is 50, 60, 70 years before the bicentennial quarter, And I, as a viewer, was pulled out of the movie, and the movie was gone for me from that point forward. So that's the same thing with a quarter. The quarter can change a character. The quarter can change the reader's experience. And so it's the same thing with a different layout and stuff. These little details, honestly, I can never even watch Cotton Club again because I know that quarter is going to be in there, and it ruined it for me. Careless.
Like when you're writing dialogue and you use an idiom that would not have been said in a certain time period, oh boy, does that ruin it for people.
Yeah, absolutely. So these tiny details make all the difference. Yes, Tang?
I was just going to add on to what Steph said.
Mm-hmm.
Be careful of the Tiffany problem, because sometimes it's not out of sync with the period. It is technically accurate, but so many people don't actually know the period. They think it's inaccurate.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also
Yeah.
a thing you have to contend with.
Yes. Yeah. There's so many layers. So again, I want to reiterate that world building adds focus to the stories by supporting the plot, not overwhelming it. So make sure that your details matter. It's all nice to say it's a sunny day, that whatever it is, but maybe the character hates the sun. Maybe the character has skin cancer. Maybe the character has sensitive eyes. Maybe there's some reason why the sunny day matters. Maybe that's when they go out and they can visit and they feel free, but they're afraid of rain. I'm exaggerating here, but I want you to really pay attention to those details, make them matter. It's one of the things why I really love the description that I put of the flooded Asian city where the incense chokes her throat. Each breath a prayer. I kept that in there because that's beautiful. That tells us about the wonder of the city instead of saying the city is beautiful. So make sure every detail matters.
It's a way to guide imagination rather than squelch it.
Not just guide, but it paints a picture of our characters. Remember, our characters, the world around our character is their perspective of what they're seeing. And that's an art form of itself. The character is viewing the world. And so what we're reading the description is the character's perspective. Even if it's omnipotent narrator, it's also through the lens of the character in some way. So make sure that there's a tie-in there. All right. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Karis?
Well, the example that you've given us a couple times about a writer focusing on the sunset and stuff like that. Do you think writers get in their own way and shoot themselves in the foot because they want their prose to sound poetic, but it happens without, just for its own sake and not for not contributing anything actually to the story? Is that really part of the point?
Yes, that's a big part of it. Yeah. When you're describing a situation, let's say somebody's sitting on a train, the clatter of the rails tells us they're on a train or near a train. We don't have to read, she sat on a train.
Right.
She could feel the clatter of the rails under her. Okay. That tells us we're on a train. Okay. That's painting that picture and connecting it with a character. But to say that it was a sunny day when she was on the train, I don't get it.
Right. Right.
I'm
so
missing something.
The challenge.
Yeah, what
The
does
challenge for a writer then, I'm sorry, my dog's barking.
That's fine.
So part of the challenge for a writer who wants their prose to be beautiful or to sound poetic is that it always has to be in the service of the story, and it can't just exist for its own sake.
Okay, let me give you a really good. I'm going to
Right?
give you a really great example of writing by thesaurus. I was working with a pediatric surgeon in the Middle East, teaching him English, and very brilliant. And so many of the words that are used in medicine are used in cooking. You chop, you cut, you slice, you measure things. So they're wonderful words. So we actually, I had him take one of his family's favorite recipes, Russian recipes, and I bought all the ingredients and we cooked together and we talked about it as we were cooking. And then afterwards, I had him rewrite the recipe and bring it to me with a correction. So he said, you slice the chicken, you chop the onions, and blah, da, 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 da. And then we got down to carrots. And he wrote, you slaughter the carrots. now, slaughter the carrots is not what I expected to see. But he said that it was boring because you cut carrots, you cut onions, you cut the chicken, you cut the this, you cut the that. He said, I thought I needed a new word. So he actually put you slaughter the carrots. And I'm trying to explain the difference between cut and slice and stab and dice and all these different words and the word slaughter and how inappropriate it is in a recipe unless you got to kill the animal first. But that's writing with the thesaurus and believing that you have to insert a better word or a different word because you're using the same word. Recipes rely on cut, slice, dice, chop. This is the same word over and over again. So it didn't work there, but also slaughtering carrots. So we've had a great deal of fun in our family talking about recipes and anything else going, okay, whatever you do, don't slaughter the carrots, or can you slaughter some carrots for me? But yeah, writing by thesaurus is really dicey. I love new words. I love new descriptions.
Oh,
When you
that's
throw it in
good.
out of context, you're slaughtering
Just say
words and
dicey.
swells carrots. Pardon, Steph?
Did you just say dicey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I caught that
Exactly.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, dicey is beautiful. So
But I think
yeah,
slaughtering the carrots should definitely be an expression that we can use as writers.
I think it's
Yeah.
brilliant. It just
Like,
didn't work on the recipe.
do you think you're slaughtering the carrots in this paragraph?
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. So we just have to keep in mind that writing by thesaurus is fun, but it's just gotta fit. It's just gotta fit. And that's what part of this whole thing was about is really getting us to pay attention to the details that support our story, that lead us through and helps the reader to not just understand what, where, and when and how that your story is taking place, but we learn about the characters in the process, because that leads us into next month's thing where we're going to be writing about how to create really believable characters in our story. And we need those details to help support how our character thinks, why they make the decisions they do, so that there's moments when our readers go, oh, I know what they're going to do. And then they surprise us. Not all the time, but some of the time. There has to be a balance. Steph?
In other words, you can't put a reader off balance, but you do have to surprise them.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's got to be there, and that's a balancing act to do, is creating believable people so that we know we trust them or not or whatever. There's the anti-hero and whatnot, but we need to believe in the characters. And that is dicey work. All right. So Lance, you want to do our closing thing? So we're here every Tuesday. We may be finally experimenting with changing the date and time. I'll let you know. I'm still debating. Right here in Engage XR. So my name is Laurel. I'm Director of Educators in VR, and I'm glad you're all here. So Lance, you want to be Stands with Trees today?
Be gone with you.
Yes, sir. Well done.